Elias Mercer trusted timestamps more than people. People forgot. People exaggerated. People changed their stories after learning what everyone else had seen. Timestamp did none of those things. It told you where a file began, when it ended, whether it had been copied, edited, corrupted, or renamed. For 11 years, Elias had examined digital evidence for insurance companies and police departments across Ashbury County. Fraudulent fires, staged burglaries, employees caught stealing from warehouses. Most investigations became simple once the footage was recovered. Video did not care what anyone claimed had happened. It showed what happened. At least, that was what Elias believed before the Hawthorne Plaza fire. The shopping center had been empty for nearly a year. 3 boarded storefronts, a closed pharmacy, an old electronics shop, a supermarket that had never reopened after the roof began leaking. At 2:13 on a Monday morning, a fire started inside the maintenance corridor. By sunrise, half the plaza had been destroyed. The fire department suspected faulty wiring. The insurance company suspected arson. Detective Sarah Quinn suspected everyone. She arrived at Elias's laboratory carrying a black plastic evidence bag. Inside was a fire-damaged security recorder. Sarah placed it on his workbench. Tell me this survived. Elias examined the warped casing. The find survived. Can you recover the footage? Probably. That sounded confident. It was meant to. Sarah folded her arms. She was practical, impatient, and had little interest in technology unless it gave her a name she could question. Elias liked that about her. It prevented him from explaining things nobody had asked him to explain. He opened the recorder. The internal drive was scorched but intact. Give me 6 hours. Sarah looked at the clock. It's 9 in the morning. Then come back at 3. She picked up her coat. Call me sooner if you find someone carrying gasoline. Elias smiled faintly. Video rarely follows instructions. By 1:47 that afternoon, he had recovered 11 camera feeds. Parking lot. Loading dock. Supermarket entrance. Main hallway. Maintenance corridor. Most of the footage ended when power failed at 2:12 in the morning. One file did not. Elias opened it. Camera 14. Maintenance hallway. The timestamp appeared in the corner. Tuesday, 3:26 p.m. Elias checked the computer clock. Monday, 1:48 p.m. He assumed the recorder's date had been set incorrectly. That happened constantly. Power loss reset internal clocks. Cheap systems drifted. Employees entered the wrong year during installation. He opened the file metadata, created Tuesday, 3:26 p.m., modified Tuesday, 3:31 p.m. Duration, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Tomorrow's date. Elias leaned back. Then he smiled. There was always an explanation. He checked the device logs. The internal clock had been correct on every other recovered file. He checked for tampering. No edits. No re-encoding. No copied segments. The file had been recorded directly by the damaged system. Tomorrow. Elias watched it. At first, nothing happened. The maintenance hallway appeared partly burned. Emergency lights glowed along the floor. At 3:27, 2 firefighters crossed the frame. At 3:28, a woman in a dark police coat stepped into view. Sarah Quinn. She crouched near an electrical panel. A second person joined her. Elias. He stopped the video. He had never been inside Hawthorne Plaza. Sarah had not yet returned. The footage continued. Tomorrow's version of Elias pointed toward the ceiling. Sarah said something the camera could not record. Then both moved out of frame. At the far end of the hallway, a person stood behind a locked security gate. Gray jacket, face hidden by shadow. The figure looked directly into the camera. Elias paused the file. For the first time that day, he stopped looking for a technical explanation. He called Sarah. She answered immediately. Tell me you found gasoline. I found us? A pause. What? In the footage. That doesn't make sense. No. When was it recorded? Elias looked at the timestamp. Tomorrow? Sarah arrived 14 minutes later. She watched the clip without speaking. When it ended, she replayed it. Then again. Finally, she pointed toward the figure behind the gate. Who's that? I don't know. Can you identify them? Not from this resolution. What about the date? The system clock is correct. Can someone fake the metadata? Yes. Did they? No. Sarah looked at him. You said that very quickly? I checked 3 times. She watched herself enter the hallway again. That's the coat I'm wearing now. Elias nodded. She looked toward his chair. And that's your jacket? Yes. We could choose not to go. We could... Sarah paused the video at 3:28. Then we learn nothing. Elias said, or we learn whether the footage predicts decisions. Sarah looked at the gray-jacketed figure. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock. The following afternoon, they entered Hawthorne Plaza. Sarah wore a different coat. Elias left his usual jacket in the car. Neither mentioned it. The shopping center smelled of wet plaster, smoke, and burned insulation. Investigators moved through the ruined storefronts. At 3:21, Elias checked his watch. They reached the maintenance corridor. The same emergency lights glowed along the floor. The same security gate stood at the far end. Locked. Sarah crouched beside the electrical panel. Exactly as shown in the footage. Elias stared at her. She noticed, "I'm checking the fire damage." "You said that in the video. You couldn't hear the video?" "No." Sarah stood. "You're trying to make it fit." Then, something cracked above them. Elias pointed toward the ceiling. A loose panel hung from one corner. His gesture matched the recording exactly. Sarah looked at the ceiling, then at him. Neither moved. 2 firefighters passed behind them at 3:27. Exactly on time. Sarah's radio sounded. She turned away. Elias looked toward the gate. Someone stood behind it. Gray jacket, motionless. Sarah, she turned. The hallway beyond the gate should have been empty. It ended at a sealed utility room, but the figure stood 20 feet inside. Sarah drew her flashlight. "Police?" "Stay where you are." The figure slowly raised one hand, not surrendering, pointing upward, toward camera 14. Then the lights failed. Darkness filled the corridor. Sarah's flashlight came on. The figure was gone. The gate remained locked. No doors, no open vents, no place to hide. Elias checked his watch. 3:31. The recovered video ended at exactly that time. Back at the laboratory, the file had changed. Elias noticed immediately. Its duration was now 6 minutes and 3 seconds. 51 seconds longer than before. Sarah stood behind him. "Did you save another copy?" "No." He played the new section. After the lights failed, the camera continued recording in infrared. Elias and Sarah stood in darkness outside the gate. Behind them, the gray-jacketed figure appeared. Not inside the locked hallway. Standing inches behind Elias, it leaned toward his ear. Then every camera in the plaza switched on simultaneously. The screen divided into 14 feeds. Parking lot, loading dock, storefronts, corridors. On every camera, the same gray-jacketed figure stood in a different location, always facing the lens. Sarah whispered, "That's impossible." Elias advanced frame by frame. Camera 1, figure in the parking lot. Camera 2, figure beside the loading dock. Camera 3, figure inside the burned pharmacy, all captured at the same second. Then camera 12 showed something else. A public phone booth standing inside the abandoned supermarket. Elias froze the frame. Sarah leaned closer. There wasn't a phone booth there. No. The receiver hung off the hook. On the glass, written through condensation, County Road 6. Sarah looked at Elias. That's the booth from the missing dispatcher case. He knew the case. Everyone in Ashbury had heard parts of it. A disconnected roadside phone had predicted emergencies before they occurred. A detective had disappeared. Then a former dispatcher vanished the following night. Elias opened the file directory. A folder had appeared beneath the recovered camera feeds. It had not existed the day before. District B. Inside were 5 video files. No extensions. No thumbnails. Only locations. Mile 87. Bellwether. Black Pine. County Road 6. Hawthorne Plaza. Open it, last one. Open it. The Hawthorne file showed the security office where they were currently standing. Live? Elias sat at the computer. Sarah stood behind him. The camera angle came from the upper corner of the room. There was no camera there. Elias looked up. Bare ceiling? He looked back at the screen. On the live feed, someone stood outside the office door. Gray jacket. Sarah opened the real door. The corridor was empty. On screen, the figure remained. It lifted one hand and knocked, 3 times. The real office door knocked behind Sarah. She spun around. Nobody. Elias paused the footage. The on-screen figure stopped moving. He pressed play. It lowered its hand. Sarah said, "Don't pause it again." "Why?" Because it noticed. Elias watched the playback cursor. The footage was no longer live. The timestamp read, tomorrow, 10:13 p.m. The video showed Elias alone in the security office. Sarah was gone. He sat at the computer watching the same file. Behind him, the door slowly opened. The gray-jacketed figure entered. It carried an old telephone receiver in one hand. Elias's future self did not turn around. The figure placed the receiver beside the keyboard, then pointed toward the monitor. The picture zoomed into the screen within the screen, again and again, an endless corridor of Elias watching himself. Deep inside the repeated image, something moved. A group of people. 5 hikers, a woman Elias recognized from the news as Detective Laura Hayes, a man holding a telephone receiver, Owen Hale. They stood inside the maintenance hallway, waiting behind the locked gate. Sarah whispered, "These cases aren't connected by records." Elias looked at her. "They're connected by cameras." "No." She pointed toward the screen. "They're connected by whoever keeps recording them." A sound came from beneath the desk. A telephone ringing. Elias crouched. No phone. The ringing continued inside the recovered security recorder. He unplugged it. The sound continued. Sarah stepped away. The computer screen changed. A call transcript appeared. Caller. Elias Mercer. Time. Tomorrow. 10:13 p.m. Emergency. Witness still watching. Elias read it aloud. What witness? The office lights flickered. Sarah looked toward the dark monitor reflection. Elias. He saw it. In the reflection, the gray-jacketed figure stood behind them. In the real room, nobody was there. Elias turned back to the screen. The figure removed its hood. The image distorted before the face appeared. Every camera feed went black. Then one sentence appeared, "Recording requires an observer." Sarah said, "Shut it down." Elias reached for the power switch. The screen changed again. Tomorrow's footage showed Sarah outside Hawthorne Plaza, speaking with officers. Alone. Elias was absent. A body bag was carried from the building. Sarah saw it too. If we leave now, does that stop it? Elias looked toward the unplugged recorder. Or cause it? The phone rang one final time. This time, a handset lay beside the keyboard. Neither had seen it appear. Old black plastic. Frayed cord ending in nothing. Sarah said, "Don't answer." Elias picked it up. His own voice spoke from the receiver. "You're not watching tomorrow." Elias gripped the phone. "What am I watching?" "The last recording." "Last recording of what?" The voice answered, "You." The computer monitor switched off. The room went completely dark. Sarah called Elias's name. He felt her hand grip his arm. Then the infrared monitor returned. The office appeared empty. "No, Elias." "No, Sarah." Only the chair moving slightly. On screen, the gray-jacketed figure entered and sat at the computer. It looked directly into the impossible camera above the room. Then reached forward and stopped the recording. Police found Sarah Quinn outside Hawthorne Plaza at 10:19 that night. She could not explain how she had left the security office. She remembered darkness, a telephone ringing, then waking in the parking lot. Elias Mercer was never found. The damaged security recorder disappeared from evidence. No camera existed inside the office. But the recovered files remained on the laboratory server. One new file appears every morning. Always dated tomorrow. Always 5 minutes long. Most show empty rooms, abandoned roads, hotel corridors, the Black Pine Lookout, the empty concrete base on County Road 6. But sometimes Elias appears. Standing at the edge of the frame, watching something outside the camera's view. In the most recent recording, he is inside Hawthorne Plaza's maintenance hallway. The 5 hikers stand beside him. Laura Hayes, Owen Hale, Maya Brooks, all facing the locked security gate. On the other side stands a person in a gray jacket, holding a camera. At exactly 10:13, the figure looks into the lens and raises one finger. Then the screen displays a message, "Next file recording." If you enjoy mysteries where the evidence seems to be watching you back, subscribe to 10-Minute Mysteries. Then watch the previous story. Every emergency call came from the same abandoned phone booth, because one hidden camera inside Hawthorne Plaza recorded that impossible phone booth after the county removed it, and the District B folder connected the booth to every other case Elias found. The calls may have predicted where people would disappear, but the cameras reveal something worse. Someone was already there, waiting to record their arrival.